Welcome to our Race and Representation on YouTube panel. I'm so excited about the people on this panel. Hi. So please join me in welcoming Kingsley to the stage. Cassey Ho. Just Rain. Nathan the Third Pew. Zed. And Tim DeLaGhetto. Woo! Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh my God.
So the goal of this panel is really to kind of talk about the different types of representation on YouTube. And I was really inspired because on television, we're seeing so many different people of color on so many awesome shows. And it's so cool that our community has the ability to kind of make new content and tell their own stories. And that's why I'm so inspired by all of you. So the first question that I want to know is, how has your race or ethnicity played a role in your content? And do you think that that's helped you connect with your audiences?
Who's first?
Yes. Hi. How you guys doing? It's good to be here. Yeah, definitely for me, because I've been on YouTube for a really long time. And I feel like in the beginning, there were, the key to being on YouTube in the beginning was being Asian. Because
there was a moment.
It was the key. Like Kev Jumbo was popping, Ryan Higa was popping, and I felt like everyone's like, "Do you feel like being Asian helped?" I'm like, "Yeah, a lot," because we didn't have Asian people on TV, and
especially not doing comedy.
Yeah, especially not doing comedy. If anything, if I ever saw an Asian guy on TV, he was like, a karate guy, or he was like the nerd in the baby blue tux at prom, that like didn't get the girl. Or Jackie Chan.
Rush
right?
Hour. Let's not forget an incredible series of movies, Tim.
I mean, hey, I love Jackie Chan, but I felt like for me growing up, I had never seen just a regular Asian dude before, and I really wanted to make sure people saw that, and I feel like that's what helped me so much, because there was such an audience of Asians who were like, I've never seen Asian guys rapping or being funny or singing, and then when they saw this on YouTube, they were like, whoa, this is crazy, Asian kids on their computers, and they were all just got super excited, and I think that definitely helps me, yeah.
Anyone just jump in.
We going in order?
Oh, we gotta go this way? All right, hi, I'm Nathan. Thank you. All right, so I'm Ethiopian, East African.
Woo!
Yeah, woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
That's not a race. My girlfriend's Eritrean, so I know.
I feel you. So I try to uplift and celebrate Black beauty, excellence, humanity, because we're living in a world where we get put down constantly, and it's important to look at a positive aspect of that. And I feel like I can connect to my audience through that, because I'm trying to show that you should be able to love yourself regardless of what the world tells you, and tells you how you should act or thinks of you. And I feel like that can also be expanded into any other race, sexuality, gender, etc. So that's just something I'm trying to do.
How does it play for me? Well, look at me. I mean, I stand out. I stick out. I very distinctly have a unique identity, which I identify with. And I mean, growing up, when I was growing up, similar to Tim, I didn't have a lot of people that I could look up to in mainstream media and be like, damn, that guy's killing. I want to be like that guy, right? The only time that you would ever see a turban and a beard on television, post 9/11, would be not in a positive light. And the media did a terrible job of distinguishing certain groups from other groups. My family's from India, we're Punjabi, I'm Sikh. Hell yeah! Right on. So, I'm Sikh, Punjabi background, and so the media did a very bad job of distinguishing.
They kind of just lump everybody together.
No, they you would see CNN, and you'd just be like, here's some more turbans and beards in caves, looking angry and mad, so everyone hate people with turbans and beards, which is what happened. So in America, there's people getting shot. If you had a turban and beard, there was people that got shot in hate crimes. Growing up, when I think I was in 7th grade when all this happened, I know I went through a lot of stuff. I know people that were like me, we went through a lot of stuff. I grew up in I was like one of the only minorities growing up in my school. I was the only non-white kid in my school at that time, let's just say that. So, there's a lot of challenges for me on that level as well. So, I mean, I try to do my part. I enjoy it when people come up to me and they're like, dude, we had no idea what you were. Like, they're like, we thought you were like an Arab. Nothing against Arabs. I love Arab people. Man, you guys are the best. I love your food. But you know what I mean? Like, people were like, oh, man, we thought you were this. We thought you spoke Arabic. We had no idea you guys were from India. We didn't know about your culture. We didn't know about, like, your music, your language. Like, like, all this beauty, this rich culture that we have. No one really knew about it. So I did my part. And even when I do a lot of my videos, I try to incorporate a lot of my culture as well. I speak a lot of Punjabi in my videos. I just try to kind of get that point across, and like, hey, you can be proud of who you are and not be scared to be who you are. Because I know a lot of people had a lot of fear looking like this in a post-9/11 world. I did, certainly as well. But, it's like, no, we can change. This is a different time now. We have the power, we have the tools to change the media's perception of who we are. And that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. So shout out to some Punjabis in the crowd.
Yes.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, I'm having like all the feels right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Cassey, and I have a fitness channel. Well, thank you. I can't really see into the audience, but how many of you guys are like Asian American, Asian? Okay, woot, woot. Oh, well,
Okay,
there we
thank
go.
you.
Wow.
Woo!
Okay, so the reason why I asked, because you'll understand, growing up Asian American, there's only a few career choices for you. It's either doctor, lawyer, or engineer, right?
Hey, same with us.
Yeah, right? So you feel, right?
Or restaurant, dry clean owner, yeah.
Or taxi driver, truck driver.
So growing up, I felt really confined to be, doing these certain things, but my heart wasn't there. My passion wasn't there. So I went to school, majored in biology. I was going to be a doctor. And then finally I was, you know what? I'm going to live life for me, not for my parents. And eventually YouTube gave me the opportunity to teach fitness and design and create online. And really, when you go into Target or whatever, you look in the DVD section, it's pretty much like all Caucasian people or whatever. And just recently, 2 years ago, my DVD's gone to Target, and you saw like an Asian person. The only other Asian person is this guy named Rodney Yee. He teaches yoga. But as an Asian female to be in there, like, I feel like YouTube really gave me that opportunity. So if you guys feel like your parents are telling you to do something and you don't want to do it, then you got to follow your heart and follow your dreams, because that's how you're going to truly find your success. So, yeah.
Unless you're trying to sell drugs.
Yeah.
Don't listen to your parents.
Not so much.
Because maybe you don't want to.
Unless you want to be a pharmacist, then sell drugs.
Yes.
Right.
Those are the good kind of drugs.
My name's Kingsley, and Stop it, oh my God. I don't think race played a gigantic part when I first started out. Recently, I've dived more into social issues just because of like the climate and
The
everything.
world that we live in.
It's been a mess, but like at the beginning, the only black YouTuber I really noticed was Glozell, and I had to kind of search and like find kind of like a niche of other people, and I saw like the Scorpion Show and Quadier and all of them, and I would look to them for inspiration. But like I said at the beginning, I did a lot of like entertainment stuff, so it wasn't like putting race into my content. It just naturally came. Like I would talk about the BET Awards because I watch the BET Awards because I'm black and I want to watch the BET Awards, and those are like people I watch and look up to and grew up listening to. So that was the extent as far as then, but now I definitely feel like a responsibility to say certain things about certain situations, not necessarily molding people's opinions, but informing them. Like I love if something happens to like just send out a prayer or bring to somebody's attention that it's happening, not necessarily shoving my view in their face, but just like spreading the word and letting people know certain things that are going on.
Yeah, and that's actually really leads me into the next question is, we've got so much going on in the world right now when it comes to racial equality issues. We've got Donald Trump making like really insensitive comments about Mexicans. We've got the Confederate flag thing, most recently happening. Kylie Jenner's lips and everything else. So do you feel in any way like obligated to address any of these topics? And how do you go about balancing some of these things where we've had some really upsetting situations with police brutality, for example, that are really hard subjects to talk about? So how do you go about, if you do talk about these issues, balancing them so that you have, your entire content's not dominated, but you can still be funny, and talk about serious stuff too?
I just want to touch on the Donald Trump thing real quick because I had a firsthand experience with that. So I was supposed to be a preliminary judge for Miss USA this year. And I was going to teach a fitness class and do all that. I thought that's pretty cool because I used to like compete in pageants and stuff like that. And then when I heard he made those statements about Hispanics, I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I'm pulling out. And it was just like a few days before that. I was like, no way, I am not doing that. So I pulled out, and then all of a sudden, all the other judges pulled out. Jeannie Mai pulled out. Everyone pulled out. But it's like I'm not going to support that. All my, my fans, my community, the people that I work with, I don't care what you are. I care who you are inside, and I'm just not going to work and support with anyone who's going to do that. So yeah, so that's how I stood my ground for that one.
Nathan, you were gonna jump in.
Oh yeah, sure. I do talk about inequalities, but I can't talk about everything. So I just try to talk about what I think I'm most educated about. And when I do speak about these issues, I don't consider myself an activist. I'm just like a comedian or a YouTuber that's like just not afraid to speak up on certain issues. And I don't really consider it a moral. It's kind of a moral obligation, but also just a natural response. Like, I just tweet what's on my mind, and Twitter it literally just says what's on your mind. If I get on, I log on, and there's a new video every other day now of a black person get shot up, choked out. That's gonna be on my mind. Like, I'm more worried I'm more worried about the people who are seeing that and then are able to like ignore it and be like, okay guys, it's time for a following spree, retweet for a follow.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I can't talk about everything.
Do you think differently about creators that are like completely dead silent when this stuff's going on? Because again, you can't comment on everything, but
Yeah.
it's interesting when you go through your Twitter timeline and everyone's talking about the latest video that came out, or most recently there was a shooting in a movie theater in Lafayette, and you go through your feed and you see lots of people saying solidarity, are we feeling sorry for these people, or we're supporting them, and then you have that one person that's like, make sure to check out my latest video. And you're kind of like, oh, how are you not? Does that change kind of your perception of people?
Well, for me, I don't like to touch on subjects like that unless I have a different perspective, because I feel like everybody's gonna be saying, like, if Donald Trump says something stupid, everyone's gonna be like, Donald Trump is stupid. I feel like as a comedian, I don't really need to make another video saying the same thing. But like, for example, with the remember Alexandra Wallace and and she was like racist towards the Asians in UCLA. Like, whenever something happens with Asians, immediately everybody tweets me and is like, Tim, what you think about this? What you think about this? What you think about this? Because because I'm Asian, and and there's not a lot of us. Well, there are, but they kind of want to hear my opinion on it, So, and in that case, I did have a different opinion because I felt like everybody was kind of quick to just like call her a racist bitch and stuff. And I remember going to school with people who had just never been around Asian people, because my high school was like majority Mexican, and like one of my good friends was like, so there's Chinese people, then there's Asian people, right? And it's like, and I realized like some people, they're not racist, they don't get it, you know what I'm saying? And so with Alexandra Wallace, I kind of wanted to like make a video like, hey, maybe there's no hate here, she's just an idiot, And like sometimes, and I kind of feel, as a minority, sometimes you need to like not get angry so quick and just take some time to educate the white people. It's like that's important.
I try to like pick my battles. If it's something I'm really passionate about, like everything that's happening with Sandra Bland, that like makes me sick. And so I spoke about that because like when I see that video, I see like my mom. So something like that, or like all the police brutality, is very important to me. Stuff like Kylie Jenner's lips, it's just, like I'll look at her and I'll be able to say like, oh my God, what the fuck is she doing? Like why is her lips like that? But to me, like that, I don't see racism in that or like a race issue in that. I see an issue in, how people have the viewpoint of like, oh, why is it beautiful on this person but not this person?
I think that's kind of like the big issue that gets brought up with Kylie Jenner, at
Yeah.
least, you know, when I look at that as a black girl growing up with big lips that had people making fun of them all the time, you know, now it's become more trendy and beautiful.
Beards.
It's cute when they do it.
Beards,
right?
long hair, man buns, long
Yes.
tees.
Y'all were doing the man
tight
buns
pants.
forever.
I'm just
That's what I'm
seeing.
saying. Yo, it was so like I remember growing up, like people used to look at my dad and be like, "Yo, that's disgusting. He's got a beard. Like that's gross." And people used to make fun of me for having long hair. I got long hair. My hair's like this long, you know, and like it was not cool. And then out of nowhere, beards all of a sudden became cool, right? It's like, oh, look at all these hot guys with beards. Look at the man bun. I've been rocking a man bun since I was born. All right? And nobody was like, oh, that's so cool. But all of a sudden when, you know, mainstream media wants to take certain things from certain cultures and be like, oh, this is cool now, let's take this. Oh, this is cool now, let's take this. Like, it's all of a sudden cool. So, like, now I'm cool because I got a beard and I got long hair, I got a man bun, you know what I mean? But, like, I'm thinking, what about 5 years from now when the beard goes out of fashion? Are those same perceptions going to come back to me? Are people going to be like, oh, man, this guy's a hairy, disgusting brown guy? You know what I mean? So it's like, but now I'm cool, but, like, in 5 years, am I going to be cool? And 5 years ago, was I cool? So that's pissing me off. But, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing with bodies too. Like back in the 20s, it was cool for girls to have like flat chests so that you would tape your boobs down and everything and look like a boy. And now all of a sudden, for past 2 years, all about butts. Like the bigger your Kim Kardashian butt is, then the hotter you are. So
Yeah, but even that it's being attributed to Kim Kardashian. Because
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian was not the first person to have a butt.
Yeah,
and
that's
some of us
true.
are actually born with
True,
butts.
true.
And that's no shade to anyone that goes out and decides to get plastic surgery. But it's interesting that we now attribute that to Kim Kardashian.
Right, and it's just interesting how like beards or butts, or they go in style, they go out of style. And it's just like, can you just love yourself? Like, just love who you are and be the best that you are.
You know, the thing that like really pisses me off is like when you see these BuzzFeed articles and like all this stuff like, hey, 10 hottest guys with beards, they're all white guys. All of them are white dudes. And like not one is like, you know, maybe we should like it's our part to change that image because I know a lot of Middle Eastern people have beards, a lot of Muslims have beards, a lot of Sikhs have beards, a lot of Hindus have beards. It's just in our culture to have beards. It's in the Middle Eastern culture and it's in South Asian culture to have beards. It's like a very respectful and powerful thing to have a beard. But that's never shown in like mainstream media, and that's what like pisses me off the most because I'm like, you show like 20 like they're hot white guys, yeah, they're good looking, but
But
like
they're not changing the
they're
standard.
not changing. Why not like, you know, show different people as well? Like
Right.
Asian, I never see Asian beards. I want to
We
see
can't grow beards.
Oh, okay.
This is as far as mine get. I've been trying for like a month.
They have lace front beards now.
I
don't
know.
You know about
lace
that.
front beards.
What-
People
what
are
is
like
that?
people that
They have a
can't get
lace
beards are
front.
getting lace
Yeah,
beards.
you like add it on there. It's like
I
a
never would have
beard
thought that
weave.
happened. Never. That's crazy.
Interesting.
Okay, so Dave Chappelle is one of my favorite comedians.
Word. Clap it up.
Right.
Oh, it's a show
how
that
y-
used to
how
come
young
on
are
Comedy
y'all?
Central.
So it's okay. But Dave Chappelle is really known for kind of pushing the envelope and talking about race in really creative ways in his work. And it kind of ended up being a double-edged sword for him, where he had people who didn't understand the jokes, like coming up to him and like repeating stuff. And you know, how do you kind of balance how you talk about race or make jokes about things in a way that people are still educated and maybe don't kind of take the wrong things out of that? Is that ever something that you're ever worried about? And how do you kind of stay mindful of those things?
I talk about race like a lot on my channel, and I feel the Chappelle pain because I did a video one time a long time ago. It was called No Racial, and it was making fun of people saying no homo. And it was like, oh, this is gonna be the new no homo. We're gonna when you accidentally say something racist, you say no racial. You know, like my friend would be like, hey, dude, let's go watch a kung fu movie. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, oh, no racial. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then we had this whole, and it was like this whole skit, right? But what happened was, like, some of the kids were using it as an excuse to say racist things to each other.
Exactly.
So it was like, oh, what do you eat dog, no racial? And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's definitely difficult, especially when you feel like the struggle is to already have people understand the jokes, and then when they take it and spin it into something negative, like race is tricky, you know, because it's sometimes a message is difficult to get across, especially online, and especially when it's like a bunch of 10-year-olds just on their computers all day, you know. So it's tough.
Yeah, is that something that any of you have ever thought about, like, in terms of your content, where you've had something that maybe you interpreted one way, but your audience saw it a completely different way?
No, I don't tend to joke about race, but I remember I saw you get into a Twitter spat one time.
Always in something on
with
Twitter.
the creator that helped me like decide to hinder myself from saying the N-word,
Okay.
because I feel like as a creator, sometimes when you say things, people see it and they think, oh, I can say this. I can say this to my friends and like joke about it with my friends. And I never really thought about that until I saw you say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that you even said that, Tim, because the things that we do say in our content, it does make a difference in how our audience then talks to each other and talks about these issues. So that is really important. I want to remind you guys that we have a hashtag if you want to tweet us questions. The hashtag is #RepresentVidCon. So if you want to tweet with that hashtag, we're going to be looking at some of your questions. So definitely make sure to be tweeting us. So another question that I have is, for some people, you might be their first exposure to an Indian person or an Asian person or a black person. So do you feel like that comes with any added pressure or responsibility when it comes to what you produce?
Yeah, like I said, I'm Ethiopian, and there really aren't many of us in the media at all. Like, the only really mainstream one I can think of is The Weeknd. You guys know The Weeknd? Yeah, okay, yeah. If you don't, you're gonna know about him within like the next year because he's blowing up. But like, even on YouTube, there aren't many at all. So I wish I represent. But like, I feel like if I can show that I'm proud of being Ethiopian, which I wasn't my whole life until recently, when I like kind of like woke up and realized a lot of things, I think that that can show them that like, oh hey, Ethiopians they're pretty cool. Like, he's proud of that. He looks happy. I'm pretty happy that he's happy. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Yes. No, I was gonna just going off of that. I make sure in my videos to, like in my vlog videos, my mom doesn't speak English, so I make sure to like speak Thai to her a lot in the videos, because I remember being a little kid, like Asian kid, and feeling embarrassed about like my native language, or feeling like if my mom called, I'd have to like get really quiet on the phone because I didn't want my friends to make fun of me because it sounded funny. But then like, you know, I realized like, man, this is where I come from, like this is my culture, like I shouldn't be ashamed of this, you know? So now in my videos, I make sure that these kids like hear me like speaking Thai and being proud of it, and not being like having to hide because I'm afraid of what people are gonna think, you know? So they feel like, oh, you know what? He's not afraid to like embrace his culture and his language. Like, you know, let me not be afraid either, you know?
That's what I'm saying. That was me. I feel like you, bro.
For me, like it's the same the same thing. Like, I'm one of the only guys I think with a turban that's even in the mainstream, or not even mainstream, but I mean on the YouTube platform or the internet platform. So there's a lot of responsibility in that sense. But I try to have fun, like whatever I'm doing. So the thing is, like, a lot of people in my community that are more traditional might not understand what I'm doing. So I'll get a lot of feedback from them, being like, "Oh no, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be acting this way. You have to be a good boy, man. You have all these kids watching you all the time. You have to be a good man." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I'm doing good stuff." But I'm like, this is comedy for me. You know, I like to going back to the first point that I was saying. I want to normalize this image. That's my main point, because it's been such a negative image. And I want to normalize it, and I want people to not be afraid of it. I want people to not question it. Because I've been in public places. I go to public places. I see how people look at me. I see it, like when I walk in a restaurant, I see how people act and get fidgety, or the comments that are thrown my way. I've been getting my whole life. So I don't want people to be scared of something, because that's where that hatred stems from. So if I normalize this image, if I show people, I'm like, yo, this guy's funny. Yo, this guy can do this. This guy can do this. And he's just like a regular dude doing this, except he has a turban and a beard. People can identify with that and be like, that's so cool, man. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea. And when I get those type of comments, I'm like, yes, it's another win for my people and another L for all the racists. And so that's what I enjoy the most. And even building on Tim's point, like little things like speaking Punjabi more is one thing that I like to do. Pronouncing things correctly, like my name. I used to pronounce I was scared. My name is Jasmeet. And a lot of people say Jasmeet because that's how it's spelled in English. So when I was growing up, I used to tell people to call me Jazz because I was embarrassed of my name. And I was like, meat, and then they're gonna make meat jokes, and I don't know what, you know, dirty minds. So it's like I don't want to do that. I was Jazz. But recently, because of YouTube and because of this, like, you know, empowering other people and I guess just like opening up people's minds to this image, I began to say my name like how it's supposed to be said. And I'm like, it's not that hard to say. It's just and then meat. And I'm like, that's not too hard to say. So when I introduce myself to people, I don't introduce myself as Jazz or Jazz Meat anymore. I introduce myself as Just or Just Meat. So little things like that. Like, I'm like, we should be proud. You should be proud of your name, and you should be proud to say those names. Because if they can say stuff like Marco Angelo and you know all these other
Arnold
random
Schwarzenegger.
And Arnold
long-ass names.
Schwarzenegger.
Right, our Schwarzenegger. If you can say all these names, and you can say my name properly too, like it's not a stress. It's not that hard. So, yeah, like names is another thing. Be proud of your name, and pronounce your name the way it's supposed to be said. I think you don't have to change it for anybody else. Just be proud of it.
So with my content, it's a little bit different. I upload fitness videos and cooking videos, and I try to keep race out of it. I just am. And I think by doing that and not talking about it and just being a person who likes to do fitness, then you get a kind of like it's a universal language. Anyone can do a squat or do a crunch, and whatever, I can jabber on about whatever I need to talk about, but you can still follow. And then that's why, like at meetups and things, I see a whole diverse group of people, and that's pretty cool. As far as like what Timothy and what you were saying about, you know, your name and talking, I totally like get that. When I was younger, I was really ashamed of speaking Vietnamese in front of my friends, and I didn't like it. And so now it's actually really bad, but I speak Vietnamese like a white person, and I now I'm sad that when I go back to my country, I can't really communicate with my grandma or my grandpa in a very efficient way. So if you guys still have the chance to speak your native language, like I really encourage that you do so, because then you get a leg up. You can speak 2-3 languages and be like multilingual. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and we're also seeing people doing bilingual videos. I'm seeing people, you know, if they speak Spanish, they might do the video in English and then do one in Spanish. So that's a way to reach a whole new audience that you might not have reached before.
Orale.
And I don't know what that means, but sure.
He's like, all right.
I know like Smosh has a channel that's in Spanish, and that has completely like been huge for them, and that was like a huge part of their audience that they decided to kind of target by doing videos in Spanish. So maybe that's something we're thinking about.
I'm kind of a mix of everyone. Like with her, I feel as though I'm myself. When I make my videos, I'm representing myself. I feel like people see me. They know I'm black. They hear me talk about Big Sean. They know I'm gay. Like, I don't need to make it the main focus of what I'm doing. And I think it's like part of the problem that we even have to feel pressure to represent an entire thing because there's not enough of us out there. And I think that is sad. Very, very sad.
Yeah, it's definitely the power of being able to be seen as an individual, and there's something about that that is definitely expands people's minds in terms of, you know, seeing you just as one person and not like every other black person.
Yeah,
or
and
like
no one else
every
has to
other
worry
Asian.
about that.
Exactly.
Oh, wait,
so-
real quick, just going off of what they
Yeah.
were saying. I also, like, when you were saying, do you feel like you're kind of representing yourself for people who have never seen, like, people of, you know, that look like us? I remember thinking, like, you know, because when I was growing up, all my friends, you know, we were all, like, really diverse, right? But I remember seeing, like, Asian guys and just, like, thinking that, like, all of them that I see on TV are really shy and, you know, really quiet and never talk to girls. And like, I remember thinking like, that's not me, you know. So I wanted to make sure and rep and show people like in America that like not all Asian guys are super shy. So I catch a little flack for having like dirty videos and having like dirty content, but like I wanted to make sure people see that like, hey, Asian guys, like, you know, we're sexual people too, you know. So I talk about like peepees and vaginas on my channel because I think it's important. Yeah, give it up for peepees and vaginas, because I feel that, you know, and even all the really popular Asian guys now on YouTube, I feel like no one goes there, you know, and I get comments where it's like, whoa, like, you know, of course most of the comments are, what you gonna do with your little Asian dick, you know, but I still like me existing in itself and having a girlfriend, and they see my girlfriend and they see that we've been together for a long time, so obviously I'm doing something right, you feel me? That like I'm showing a different side of my people, and I'm repping, you know?
You're breaking a stereotype by just being yourself.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
much. Okay, so another question that, you know, I think that we've kind of talked about, and Nathan, I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this, because you are someone that is never afraid to call people out on the internet. And
No chill, savage AF.
we won't name any names, but like, you know, we've seen creators doing blackface and using racial slurs and doing really harmful stereotypes for views. And honestly, I think it in some ways might be worse on Vine. I'm not sure why. It's like the 6-second rule, suddenly people just go like really balls to the wall. But do you think that that plays or how does that play a role in who you choose to work with? And do you feel like you're in a position where you can talk to creators about the content they're making so that they can make smarter choices? Is that something that you feel like you could actually say to another creator, like, "Ooh, I don't really know why you did that, and I don't think that that's cool"?
Should I go first?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right. So I don't want to work with you, honestly, if you're just out here cooning out and like, you know what I mean, like if you think you've made it because you're getting popular by playing the same stereotypical role, like you haven't. You're just a slave to the same image. Like there are people really out here like, all right, guys, Vine idea, okay? How black people wake up. I wake up, I'm out of bed, and there's just fried chicken and Kool-Aid in my hand. Just like, that's not clever. That's nothing. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So, like, okay, first of all, if all your comedy is all about race, I don't think you're that funny at all. Sorry. But when it comes to talking to people about it, I've had friends that haven't understood how perpetuating those types of stereotypes, especially when you're playing like a criminal type stereotype or something like that. I don't know. But there are harmful stereotypes that you can perpetuate when, if you have like 10 million followers, you can be showing, like everyone else was talking about, like how you can break the stereotype essentially. But if you're just playing to the same stereotype to get more views, it's just, I don't see how that makes any sense.
So anybody else, does that ever influence who you choose to work with? Like, do you know, because a large part of success on YouTube has to do with collaboration. And so whether it's through your network or through people that you're friends with or people that do content that's really similar to you, how much does that play a role in, well, I'm going to work with this person, but they did this thing that doesn't really align with my values or isn't something that I really agree with? Like, does that change who you work with?
I think it would change for me. Like unless they like manned up and not manned up, women will mind up too. But I mean like, unless they like own up to their actions, I don't think I would work with them on that basis. Yeah, like, I mean, it's not cool to get away with certain things. So, you know, you should take responsibility for the things you say. As long as it's all about intention. Like if someone's intention is pure, then like that's not cool. It's no problem. But I mean, if their intention was to deliberately hurt someone or to hurt a group of people,
I don't know. I have to disagree on that one.
Yeah?
Because I think I always use the analogy like if you step on someone's toe, even if it's an accident, like you still hurt the person's toe.
right. So if it's out of ignorance,
I do think that
You're
people
right, you're
can unintentionally do and say things that are really harmful. But I think at some point, you know, where's the line in terms of, I do see people claiming ignorance for things over and over and over again. And so it's like when you can build a year-long plus career off of doing certain things, can we really say that they didn't know or they didn't mean to say or do those things? You know, I think that that's worth questioning.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. And I have definitely turned down script ideas from people where it's like a little dick joke. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this kind of goes against everything I've been trying to build for me and like my people. You know, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get what you're doing, but I'm very picky about what I do in terms of like race for me, because I will rarely do like an Asian accent, you know, just because I kind of feel like a lot of that stuff for my people, it's just kind of it's all they see, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't want to just always go back to that, because a lot of the times, you know, like especially with Vine, you know, they want the quick laugh, so it's like sometimes it's easiest to get the joke that everyone knows already, you know. So, but I definitely like, well, I mean, I don't work with a lot of people just because I don't find a lot of people funny, but.
That too.
I've worked with Kingsley and I've worked with Just Rain though, and I'll work with you guys, and I'll work with you. So hey, cool crew.
Let's all work together.
So YouTube has recently done a huge promotional campaign. We've seen banner ads, TV commercials, billboards with some huge YouTube creators. but with really the exception of Michelle Phan, we really haven't seen that much diversity. So besides yourselves, who are some people of color that you would like to see featured in upcoming YouTube campaigns? And hopefully we can tweet YouTube so that we can maybe get some of them featured.
Everyone on the stage minus me.
Everyone on this.
Agree.
Well, at the same time, at first I was like, it's always the same white people I'm seeing on these things, right? And then I was like, but then I get it. It's like it's the really commercial, like they have a lot of commercial appeal and they have like a lot of subscribers.
Wait, but why aren't we commercial? That's what I'm saying. Like, we can appeal to lots of different people too.
No, I
and
know.
you're allowing them to get higher places because you're giving them these platforms, as opposed to like if you were to give someone that was of color the same like. In downtown Toronto, okay, like right in Dundas Square during the YouTube Fan Fest, there was a huge poster of a girl YouTuber. She's cool, she's dope, but like you know what I mean? Like it was like there's so many YouTubers from Toronto. Like there's myself, there's Lily, there's.
I was gonna say Lily would have been.
Yeah,
because she's killing
would be
it.
my choice, and she's huge.
Yeah,
I know, and
she's huge.
Yeah, and there's so many people. There's a lot of people from Toronto, and so if you're gonna put up a poster. And the Weeknd's poster actually was on there right before that. During FanFest, it should probably be someone from Toronto and probably be someone of color. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but, yeah. That's
Especially since, like, I mean, and I was watching, like, okay, like, a lot of them have, like, super big audiences. Like, I kind of understand, like, why they wouldn't choose me. Like, my stuff is dirty. You don't want to put that on a billboard, like, or YouTubers that are coming up. But then, like, I think of, like, Ryan Higa, who's, like, been doing it and has consistent, has crazy views, has been consistent since like 06, and like I never
His
see
content
him.
appeals to a huge
Everybody, yeah.
audience of people.
I don't know. Hey, Ryan would be nice. Just Rain cracks me up.
Yeah.
I used to watch Tim when I first started YouTube. That's what's crazy. And then I made my favorite ever video with one of my favorite YouTubers, which was really cool. So.
Oh, if you haven't seen the video that me and Just Rain, I don't want to plug it right now. It's so funny though. It's so good.
See, that's
I don't
a
want to
video where
plug
it's
it,
like
but I'm just gonna plug it.
This ain't a plug, but it's a plug.
that's another example of like that video had nothing to do with the race. It was just a funny ass video, just really random, and like it cracks me up still. I'll go back and watch it. It's one of my favorites. And that's like that's another example of like you don't always have to talk about race. You can just be yourself. You can have comedy. You can have humor. And then when people see a person of color doing those things, they can identify themselves with. So that's important as well. You don't have to always talk about race, but make sure that there is a certain sense of responsibility, but also do the fun stuff as well, because either way, you're still going to be putting on for your people. So, yeah, that's what I believe.
I'm the same way as Tim. How you mentioned, like I would never expect myself to be the face of anything because I'm a mess. But like Trey Melvin, for instance, he does like so much, like a broad. He's intelligent. He does like social commentary, he does skits and everything. You just like, there's a whole bunch of people that are there. And I actually had a discussion with someone else because they were like, I was said to them, I'm like, I feel like YouTube forgets that black people watch YouTube. You know what I mean? And they were like, what do you mean? Like, who is on YouTube that's black? I'm like, what do you mean who is on YouTube that's black? There's so many people on YouTube that are black, you just aren't seeing them because they're not visible.
All right, so make sure to definitely keep tweeting us with #RepresentVidCon. We've got a lot of really good questions on here. This one comes from Patrick Kieser, and they want to know what can be done to make YouTube a more diverse place.
I say going back to that point of like highlighting certain YouTubers is a big thing that they can do. Like right on the homepage, if you can put up like a Kia advertisement, why not put like a certain YouTuber that comes from like a specific background or bring something different to the mix and feature them. You know what I mean? Like have like a week-long feature, like a day-long feature of a certain YouTuber or a certain bunch of YouTubers, so that people that go onto the site that may not have like come across this YouTuber in any other way have a chance to do that. So I think that's one of those things that YouTube can do. And also like all this print media and billboards and all the stuff that they're doing. Put the colored folks on too. Yeah, let's do that.
They had that before, right? Like a featured thing. Like, I mean, they used to, and then I think they took it off. I don't know why they would do that, but I was about to say the same thing. Like, just trying to get us out here. Like, I personally, whenever I find like a really good YouTuber that's a person of color, I try to like get them out there because it's rare. Well, I mean, no, it's not rare that there are good YouTubers, people of color. I'm saying it's rare that we're out there. So I just try to do my best with that. But I don't know, man. Like, we don't. Just someone else go.
No, I was just gonna say YouTube used to like feature content. You know, it used to be like the featured videos. Like if you got featured, it was like, oh my God, I'm on. YouTube just put me on. I mean, that's how a lot of people found Kev Jumba. He was featured. You know. Now I feel like not only for like a diverse group of YouTubers, but just for any YouTuber, it's kind of hard to get an audience as a new YouTuber just because of the way things are set up. That's a completely different conversation though, but yeah, all right.
Yeah, you know how in the beginning you were like, being Asian helped you, and I think it was the same for like Wong Fu Productions, Nika Higa. I mean, Nika Higa's still super huge, and I love his videos. But I feel like recently we've hit some sort of a glass ceiling for Asians on YouTube. It's really weird. And it's almost the same glass ceiling that is in Hollywood and entertainment. And yes, I would love to say, keep working hard, do everything, and it'll come your way, and that's completely true, but it's just become a lot harder. So again, having that same YouTube homepage that I used to really love would be awesome, because I could discover people that way. Now I just keep seeing things that they think I like, but I don't really like it. It's weird.
What they said. But no, it's a good point, because it used to be so much more like user-oriented. Like you would go on the front page of YouTube and it was all faces. It was all faces of creators and like everything they did. And now you go on and it's like Vivo and celebrities and like just stuff that doesn't really show what YouTube was and the community that is a part of it. And so it's hard for people just in general, but especially for minorities, to find new people and people they can relate with, because the same people are in rotation all the time.
Yeah. All right, here's another question from Amanda. So should Caucasians not be proud of their race? And I definitely want to jump on this first, if possible, because I definitely don't think that that's what people should take away from this panel, especially because I don't believe in any way, shape, or form we've tried to make white people. Actually, Caucasians are not specifically just white, P.S. There are people of color that are from the Caucasus region. You can look that up. But this is a question that I see a lot when we talk about people of color having pride in their background and in their race. And I think there's a large misunderstanding in the fact that there's a difference between the fact that white has always been shown as the standard and that everything else that's not white has always been discriminated against or stereotyped, and that's everywhere when we look in our media, when you look at magazines, and we really haven't had an opportunity to present ourselves in authentic ways. And so I definitely want to make sure that no one in our audience thinks that this is in some way saying that white people are bad or that you can't be proud of who you are. But I think it's important to understand there's a really big difference in having pride for your ethnic heritage as an act of defiance, because we've always been told there's something wrong with being black or there's something wrong with being Indian or Muslim or Asian, that white people have not had historically, especially in this country. So I definitely want to make sure that I add that perspective, but if you guys want to jump in as
White
well.
people!
Like, it's like, it's a FU to the system. Like, I'm not just proud to be black. I'm proud to be black in a world that tells me I shouldn't be proud. I should be put down for it. You know what I mean? So, what we're doing right now is we're just trying to get to y'all's level. If that's okay with you, please we're just trying to get up there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a reason, there's a reason why this panel isn't just about race, it's about race and representation. It's about us using YouTube as a tool, especially to, represent ourselves and where we're from. Like, there was a guy that was mad on my Instagram comments when I posted the flyer for this, because he was like, dude, where's the white people on the panel? We should, why can't we be represented? You know?
I saw a few of those comments actually on
And I'm
Twitter.
They're on every other thing that
and
not
that's
any
the
other
thing.
panel.
And I was trying to tell him, like, hey man, this is about like we're not represented. That's why we're on this panel trying to speak on it, And he's like, are you saying? He's like, if you're saying that ethnicities aren't represented as much on TV and in the media as white people, I disagree. And I was like, what? I was like, are you serious?
Yeah, you can look around at the panels here, and that's not a criticism. I think that sometimes it's like a blind spot in the sense that I've had lots of projects that I've worked on, and I said, and it's for lots of different backgrounds, and I said, it'd be really cool if we could get a gay person in this sketch or in this piece, or just a person of color. And I think a lot of times people are so used to seeing people that look like them that they're just not thinking about it. And we can even see it in a lot of the panels that we've had here where there's been, they talked about it a few years ago where we had panels where it was all men and it was just like all white dudes and there was like not one female representation there. And I think that we have to be really conscious about that when it comes to people of color too, to just sprinkle us in there as much as possible because it adds a level of authenticity and also representation that can really expand people's minds.
Like, we're here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and women of color, more women of color, because
Yes, more women of color,
not only are they
please.
facing the race issue, but then they have to face the gender issue as well. So more power to all the women, man.
Intersectionality.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so just to build on, like, I think it's just some people don't realize, like, it hasn't been, like, for me, race is, like, people always question me sometimes, like, why do you talk about race so much? I'm like, I have no, like, this has been on my mind all the time.
It's your daily lived experience.
It's my daily experience. Growing up, it was my daily experience. People used to see me, question me all the time, say stuff to me or whatever. Like, it was a daily thing that happened to me all the time. That's why I'm so open and free to talk about race, because it's something that's always been on my mind. And, with people of, like, with white, I guess, kids that were growing up in my school, it wasn't really a big thing for them because they had a lot of people that looked like them when they were growing up. So it's not like they weren't always questioning about what kind of food they ate, what the language they spoke, what kind of clothes they wore, what did their parents look like, what country they came from. These things were never an issue for them, whereas for me, it was an issue every single day. So it's like, that's what I have to say. Like, even when the campaign of Black Lives Matter came up, everyone's like, what about all lives matter? It's like, no, we're not saying that all lives don't matter. It's just Black Lives Matter right now. This is an issue that we need to talk about.
about focus.
Yes.
It's about focus. The black community is under a lot of heat within the States, and then you have the brown man who's like the external enemy, is what I always say. Like, if you want to pin something against someone else, or like that's the country that's our enemy, it's always a brown country, you know what I mean? So it's like blacks are like the internal enemy and browns are like the external enemy, and you even see that when you see shootings happen, right? Like Oak Creek was a couple years ago. That's when someone walked into a Sikh temple, which is what I am, and they shot and killed 9 people, and he was labeled as he was like, oh, he's mentally ill, and
He wasn't labeled a terrorist. That's
wasn't
for
labeled
sure.
a terrorist. How's that not terrorism? You went in, and the worst thing was he thought they were Muslims. So that's 2 groups of people that you clearly were racist against, and were like, there's so much hatred for that. So he went into a Sikh temple, shot them because he thought they were Muslims, and the media, didn't do a good job of identifying with, okay, so this is the Sikh community, this is the Punjabi community, this is where they're from. No, it was all about the shooter. It was all about how he was when he was growing up. It was all about these little issues, and that's like, it shows in our media. When a black shooter kills someone, it's a thug, it's a gangster. When a brown guy does it, he's a terrorist. When a white guy does it, oh,
He was a loner.
Yeah.
Let's talk to all of his
and
friends.
even now, people are like, he's a terrorist, and people are like, wait, don't. Hold on. Let's
You
really.
mean
Is he really a terrorist?
pterodactyl?
Let's go into his childhood. He was so happy. Here's some pictures of him smiling. Here's like, you know what I mean? People, you do interviews with their friends, like, oh, you're such a happy guy. You wouldn't have hurt a fly. But it's like, you paint these guys in these lights, but they will never do that with people of color. Never. You will never know about a person's background, how they grew up, how they were that. Nothing. They'll just be like, oh, he's a terrorist. He killed this many people.
Even
They're bad.
most
These people
recently
are
with
bad.
Charleston, we have not heard anything about the victims or their families or where they grew up, but we've seen baby pictures of Dylan Roof. We've had interviews with his parents. And so I think that if you're not conscious of these things, it's hard to see it, and I think that that's why this panel is specifically about representation, because like you said, if you're used to seeing yourself everywhere, then in your mind, it's like, well, why do we need this? I'm fine, I see myself everywhere, but for us, we're not seeing ourselves everywhere, and unfortunately, when we do see ourselves, so often it's these really limited stereotypes. So that's why I'm so excited to be on a panel with all of you, and you are all doing these really creative things and really representing yourselves in interesting and authentic ways. Here's another question from Isabel Z. How do you feel about the idea of being colorblind?
All right, so hold on, I got something about this. I used to think the same thing before you realize, like, the world, we're all human. It's good to treat people as humans on a personal level, but you gotta realize that the world doesn't treat us all in the same way. You know what I mean? Not everyone is treated equally. And if you don't see that, if you're gonna just be like, oh, I don't see that you're black. Oh, it's like, all right, I'm black, all right? Just like, you can see that. I'm okay with that, because you gotta recognize that, like, I'm going through different things than you, and if you just wanna ignore that, I feel like that's just, why are you trying to ignore my pain, man?
Yeah, no, I feel that's right. I feel like, yes. I feel like yes. I feel like it's too easy to say, I don't see color, I don't see like a difference, because it's like we're different, you know, like
And different's not bad.
and different is not bad. The key is embracing the different,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. I think that a lot of times people say that thinking it means I won't treat you differently. And I think the difference is it's okay to be different as long as you're not treating me differently because of those differences.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It's all about you understanding where someone's coming from, but we're all on the same level. Like you said, we're all human beings, and we're all working here to get cool things done. And if you're not adding positivity into the world, that's my whole thing. Everything has to be about positivity, and if you're not doing that, then you just need to get out of here, or you need to get educated. Yeah.
I think it's one thing to be like positive and have like an optimistic look, but colorblindness to me is kind of just like living in a dream world, like Raven Simone, for instance. And I feel like when you look at her and it's like, okay, you know, you're an actress, you're extremely wealthy.
Wealth, yeah.
And then you look like I'm from Ferguson, like that's where I grew up, that's where I went to school. And I went back and like drove through, and it's just like a disaster. And so when you have somebody that's like, ew, that like has a life that's very, very privileged, and they don't really see what everyone else in the world is going through, and they forget that because of the level they've gotten to. And so it's like, oh, great, you know, there's no racism, there's no color, we should all be just happy. You can't like have that type of platform and put that out there, because there's other people that are still like struggling every day, like even with Sandra, like just every day, and you can't forget things like that. And I just feel like when you say things like colorblind, as happy as you want to be in like the world you want to live in, it's just not reality. And you should like face that stuff head on and be like proud of who you are, and like fight for other people like you, and make sure that that like problem is visible. So
Yeah, you brought up a really good point. That not everyone has the luxury of being able to say that they don't see race or that they're colorblind, because for those of us that are people of color, we don't get that option. People see us the way that we are all the time. I thought this was a really important question from Tiffany Rodriguez. Being Hispanic, I see no real representation of the Hispanic community on YouTube. Why is this happening, and how can we change it? And I saw a few comments about just even on this panel, and I'm thankful that people brought this up. And even as I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think, who can I think of that's in like the big top creators that's Hispanic, Latino?
Dulce Candy.
Oh, Dulce Candy?
Yeah.
One of my best friends, this guy named Super Ego, he's like really popular among the Mexicans. We could have had, blame VidCon, it's VidCon's fault. Blame VidCon, blame Franchesca.
I didn't pick who was on the panel, so don't blame Franchesca at all. I'm trying to find more questions. Oh, here's a good one. This one's from Kavita. I hope I'm saying this person's name right. What do you guys think of using comedy itself as a tool to combat racism? For example, satire. And that's something that I see you guys doing a lot of.
Can I go first on that?
Yeah, sure.
I think that's like, this is a craft that I'm trying to work on. I'm 18 right now, and I hope I can like figure this out within the next couple of years. But the balance between like fun stuff and social awareness is crucial. Like, if you come off as preachy, or if you're just talking about these problems, then people will get turned off. They don't really want to hear about it. But if you're able to use comedy, for example, like Chris Rock is able to do this. There's a lot of comedians that do it, but satire and comedy, if you're able to fuse the two, you're able to expose injustices that people don't see. You make people think in a different kind of way, and it's really interesting, just thing that I really would like to. I'm doing it right now. I'm here. Okay, so like, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. But hopefully with the next, I just Thank you. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, satire, like, that's what I try to do too, and it's tough, man, because sometimes it just goes over people's heads, you know, and it's like, they don't understand it, and they're like, this is racist. Like, I did a video with my friend Rick where we, it's like you're a stereotype when you're hungry, and then he was like saying, he was hungry, so he was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm gonna go rob some white people and I'm gonna eat some chicken, and then like he bit the Snickers, and then he wasn't a stereotype anymore. But it was supposed to be like highlighting the fact that these are stereotypes, you know what I'm saying? But people watched it and were like, oh, this black dude is willing to do anything for a laugh. He's selling out his people, doing all these racial jokes. I'm like, no, these are these are stereotypes. And at the end, I'm like, oh, me so hungry, because I'm hungry too, you know, and I'm the stereotype. But sometimes people just, they don't get it. And it's tough. Comedy is tough.
Okay, so here's my question to kind of piggyback on that, because I see a lot of times people using stereotypes under the guise of satire without actually making a comment about why that's wrong, you know, and most recently Amy Schumer kind of got in some hot water for some comments that she had made about Mexicans, and she kind of used the idea that she was commenting on people being stupid and racist, and I was thinking that there was a disconnect in the fact that just saying something racist or just saying a stereotype isn't enough, because, you know, someone can just watch it and then think that that's the stereotype and that it's true, rather than actually commenting on it and why it's wrong. So, you know, I think that that's really important to remember, that satire is not just saying the terrible thing. There has to be some level of commenting. Otherwise, I always think to myself, if it's like a full proud racist saw this, would they enjoy this? Or would they think that they are being made fun of? Or would they just agree with it? You know, and there's a really fine line there. We've got a few minutes left, and I think that this is a really good question to end on. It's from Emily. She says, how can those of us who are not a minority draw attention to race issues without hindering the cause?
Well,
yeah.
like,
You want to go?
I think just being, like, joining and, like, having solidarity with those that are speaking about these issues, whether it be, like, I mean, working alongside with them, creating content with them, or if a certain YouTuber or an online personality speaks up about a certain issue, you should acknowledge it or just kind of chime in a little bit. And like, one of the things that I saw on your Twitter, which is really funny, was I forgot who it was. It was like a popular viner.
Okay,
And I was like, oh, I'm so mad at people being, you tell the story. You know the story better.
Dude, I don't want to do this right now, please.
We won't tell the story. If he's not comfortable, we won't tell the story. But I mean, there's, like, people need to understand that there's certain privileges that other people get, and if you kind of join in with someone who's speaking with a struggling voice, I think that goes a long way in terms of kind of bringing light or shedding light to a specific topic.
Yeah, just like make sure you're not speaking over a certain group, but you can just like some people just don't say anything, but you could retweet people of color. For example, like with feminism, I don't speak as much about it because I want actual women to actually speak about it, and I will retweet them, and I want their experiences to be told. So I feel like you could do the same thing with racial issues. If you don't feel comfortable, you could just educate yourself. Okay, we have the internet. Like, you got so many options on how you can figure out things. Just try to get educated and then educate other white people if you can.
I think very cool. I think just work alongside each other, whether that's collaborating with someone, or it's starting an app company together, or doing something together, or even just working out together. The more you do things together, and the more you create cool things for other people to use and be successful from, that's how it's going to help. It's about what you can produce together.
And I was just gonna say, I think it can be as simple as just showing love and support. You know, like when I just get a tweet, like when I get tweets from white girls or not Asian girls, and they say, you know what, I never looked at dating Asian guys until I started watching your videos. I'm like, yes, I'm changing the world. I just opened this girl's mind. You know, like I'm breaking stereotypes one girl at a time, and I feel good about that.
I would say the same thing that Nathan said in terms of just like uplifting other people's content, but I also think it's really important to educate people in our own communities. You know, Facebook, for all of its awesomeness, a lot of people show their asses on Facebook. And so a lot of times I go through my Facebook feed and see people I went to high school with or college with saying really hurtful things, or like a distant family member. And I think that you kind of have to take ownership and say, listen, I'm going to call you out. I need to talk to you about this. And so I think that that's one way that you really can support, is by making sure that you help educate people in your family, in your circle, because they're going to listen to you where they might not listen to us, or they might not even be exposed to our content. So just sharing it, but also having those tough conversations with your friends and family really does go a long way. So thank you all so much for tweeting us.
Oh, and give it up for Franchesca for killing the moderation, though.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so, so much, and thank you to this amazing panel,
Thank
to all my panelists.
Thank you. Have a good VidCon.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bishop of the new world, curled in the mess, found pearls in the wreckage. Spawned 1,000 ships to arm the armada. Garments, harm posture, slate, onyx, and jade weapons in cold breastplate.